Hey guys, welcome back to the cabin. I'm Robbie.
I'm Norman.
I'm definitely Johnny.
Definitely Johnny this time.
He's for sure this time.
We're making progress.
We're getting there.
Interventions are great.
Remember, Johnny, remember, the first step is always the most important.
You know, he can almost pass for Johnny Bravo. Now that I think about
Oh, hey, how you doing there?
it. Just got to give him some dark sunglasses.
Yep,
Yes. That'll
and
work.
some more hair. Of course, I can't say anything. I ain't got any hair either, so. Oh, here we go.
It's good to be back.
Yeah. I miss the cabin when I'm not here.
Yeah, me too. It's
I
fun.
enjoy-
It's always
I-
fun to be in the
I
cabin.
enjoy our conversations. They're the highlight of my week.
So, what's our conversation about today?
All right.
Which I think we told them about it, but let's tell the ones who maybe didn't hear last time.
We're going to talk about a North American native legend, the Thunderbirds.
Thunderbirds.
Now, it's not the Air Force aerobatic team. It's not the liquor. And it's not the 1960s TV show that came from England, also by the name the Thunderbirds.
Or the car.
Or the car.
Wow, that's a lot of Thunderbirds.
It is.
But I bet all those are named after what we're talking about.
Exactly.
In some way, shape, or
do
form.
you think back to the 1965 Thunderbird, that really ugly emblem on the back? That was Native American all the way.
Oh, yeah. The old Thunder Chicken,
Yep.
as we Chevy guys used to call them.
Yes. Ugly and slow.
A very powerful totem of the Native American lore. Now, I know this is your favorite topic, though, Robbie. Is
Oh, anything Native American because of, and of course Johnny too. I think you got some Native American in you too, right?
Yeah, but I'm from the Swamp Indians. We didn't build totems, we built mounds.
They had thunder crocodiles.
Thunder Crocs.
Thunder Gators.
Thunder gators, yeah.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah, yeah. We've discovered a whole new cryptid here: the Thunder Gators. Lightning Crocs. Oh, here we go drifting again. So, yes, Native American culture and history are very, very personal and
Close to your heart.
close to my heart, and just interesting in general. Even if I wasn't, I would find it interesting. But
I think this is one of the most fascinating aspects of Native American culture is the Thunderbird, because one, the mystique, the power behind the creature, the artwork that it depicts, the ceremonial dances, and it's not just one tribe that shares this.
yeah, that's what I was just about to say. This is not like any one specific tribe. Most of the First Nation tribes had some type of representation of a Thunderbird.
Yes.
Yeah, the Hopis and the Cherokees are nowhere near each other, but they share it.
Definitely. Also, the Central American, Mexican, and South American natives had their version of the Thunderbird. Quetzalcoatl,
Quetzalcoatlus.
yes, is probably the. Theirs is more.
He got close, Johnny. Give him credit.
Theirs is more of a lizard creature with feathers, but
That
it's also the interpretation of the person seeing it.
well, we always get off on movie references, and that's usually what throws us down a rabbit hole. But there was a 1970s ish movie called Gargoyle, and it.
God, that was terrible.
Yeah, it was not a good. I mean, it was an okay movie. Scott Glenn's actually in this movie. It's one of his first movies. Everybody knows who Scott Glenn is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was actually really young in this movie. He played one of the little outlaw biker gang that was, as a biker gang, it was a bunch of dirt bikes, but it was, I guess, loosely based on some type of Thunderbird legend out of, and I don't know if, because obviously I'm Cherokee, so I don't know a lot about the out west tribes,
Right.
or Midwest,
Right.
So I'm not going to try to say this was,
Fact or-
I would say it was probably loosely based on something, but they actually went in and did, like I said, I don't know if they just wrote this history or if they went out and looked it up.
Researched it.
But there was like a 3 or 5 minute speech in the movie by this old guy that actually found the skeleton of one of these gargoyles out in one of the caves. That he dug it up, and he was basically, there's a story. This guy's a professor at a college,
Right.
and his daughter's like I don't know if she's a reporter, just a photographer, or something like that. But the old guy that not owned the skeleton, but dug it up, he calls them out. They go out to look at it, and he tells them the story. And he gets into a lot of Native American history, and actually mentions the Thunderbird a couple times in that. So that's, you know, just old like I said, it's probably 78, 79, somewhere around in there. You know, that whole general type of creature feature that used to come on.
Oh, I missed those things.
You remember movie Revenge of the Nerds?
Yes.
You remember it, Johnny? Union Jefferson, the president of the Tri-Lambs?
Yeah.
Or Lambda, was that it?
Was it the nerds or the jocks?
No, when they were trying to get their charter, their Greek charter, they got in with the Lambda.
No, that's what they became. Lambda.
Yeah, they were pledging for Lambda.
But somebody else was sponsoring. I know who you're talking about. It was
That was
African American
yes.
fraternity.
The guy that played Union Jefferson, he plays the main gargoyle in this movie.
Huh.
So just a little, kind of.
Robbie, you really are a nerd.
I know.
You're a movie nerd.
I'm a movie nerd. I am.
Do you remember a couple episodes back we were talking about Thunderbird in Tombstone, Arizona? About it being in a picture, about the wingspan. Well, I found some collaborating evidence on this. Now, first of all, there was a farmer that was talked to shortly after the story ran because somebody wanted to find the truth, if it was really true or not. It was. He said, yes, this did happen in Tombstone, but they didn't shoot it down. They shot at it and it flew away. And like I said, this was like in the 1890s. But here's another clincher, okay? The creature, this pterodactyl or thunderbird creature, came from California apparently. Because around the 1870s, 1880s, a place called Elizabeth Lake, aka the Devil's Lake, had a pterodactyl / thunderbird type creature emerge from the lake and terrorized the ranches in the area for a while, until one of the ranchers stood up to the creature and started taking shots at it. Apparently hit it, and the creature flew east. So there was and then a couple years later, you hear about the Tombstone episode. So there's a collaboration to this.
And it's interesting that you mentioned pterodactyl, because that's my personal belief. That's what most of these Thunderbirds work. You know, I'm not one of these that buys into humans and dinosaurs whenever, because, and I've said this many times before, the word dinosaur wasn't invented until the 1800s. So it's not like that word is synonymous with these big reptiles that we call dinosaurs. You know, the word dragon is referenced in the Bible well over 100 times. So, you know, that's what most of these people, I believe, were when they say dragon, you know, doesn't necessarily mean
dragon as we know it.
Yeah, the Chinese version or
sci-fi dragon.
The European version or anything like that. Yes, it could and very well did represent those as well, but it's more of a generalized term than it was a specific. Like we say, when we say dragon today, we're specifically looking at either the Chinese version or the Asian with the flying and the big, dragon. That, or the European version with the horns and the wings, and that's or when we say when we say dragon, that's what we think of. But back then, when they said dragon, that could have been. That could cover a lot. You think of yourself back then when you didn't have any other reference point, and you saw a T-Rex, and you had heard somebody talk of a dragon, and had said, "Oh, it's big, it's scaly."
Dragon.
it was a generalized term.
It's a dragon.
Yeah, that's a dragon.
Yeah, we're in the South. Everything's a Coke down here.
Yeah, exactly. that kind of reference. Every carbonated drink is a Coke. I mean,
I always thought soda, but
well, just because you're from up north.
Yeah.
well, up north it's pop.
Pop or soda pop, same thing. Anyway,
Yankees.
yeah.
But you know, I'm going to make a slight divergence on something. If you notice with the Thunderbird, it's colorful. Okay, so that makes me think feathers.
Well, there are scientists who have said that there are certain dinosaurs who had feathers.
Right. So I want to take a leap of faith that maybe that there was, and possibly still is, because there are reports to this day of flying winged creatures out in the Midwest, as well as up north. There was an incident back in the 80s in the Kecksburg area, Pennsylvania, of a giant bird-like creature that was probably 3 times the size of a man.
Is that the one that tried to pick up about the 9-year-old kid?
No, that was in California, I
I
think.
thought that was in Ohio.
Well, there might have been one there,
The
too.
woman saw it. It
Yeah.
came down. It
They did
grabbed her
you talking about
kid.
the one they did the episode on Monster Quest about
Exactly.
that? Yeah.
And it got a few flaps, and it finally figured out it couldn't do it, and it dropped the kid.
Yeah, there was
Yeah.
something like that. They thought it was Andare, the mountains from Chile.
Yeah, those,
Oh,
the
you're talking about
condors.
the condors,
Condor.
the Andes condor.
Right, and then California had some similar sightings of something that big as well, but it looked more like a giant vulture, supposedly.
Yeah.
But to kind of build on what you were saying, Norm, I mean, if you look at something like a Dimorphodon, basically like a little flying T-Rex, there are scientists now who say they had feathers.
That would make me think of the Thunderbird. Because
Yeah, I mean,
and some of the colors look pretty dead on with how
yeah.
the Indians represent.
So I mean, you know,
Excuse me, Native Americans.
what we know, and it's like we say all the time, everything that we say is speculation because none of us know. We wasn't there. But when you look at stuff like the Inca stones that were made 4,000 years ago, give or take, way before the internet. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
But on the Inca stones are what you and I would look at it and say, "Oh, that's a Stegosaurus. Oh, that's a Brontosaurus."
That's a helicopter.
Yeah, that's a parasaur. I mean, how did they know that?
Right.
How did they know that unless they saw it?
You look at your Native American art, it doesn't have that pointy head like a pterosaur has. It's always shaped like a natural occurring bird.
Mm-hmm.
So, it was an F-16 that had a time slip. No, it looks like a bird.
I think it would be like a flying cross then if they seen an F-16, to be honest.
Exactly.
Yeah, but and back to the incident in CERN. Okay, that could have caused all that stuff. Fine and dandy, but these cave drawings, the Inca stones, the Native American totems.
How would they know it?
How would they know it unless they experienced it? There's no way you can convince me that humans and dinosaurs, dragons, whatever you want to call them, did not share. I mean, look at the trackways.
I think they lived longer than people want to admit.
Well, okay, pre-flood, because I think everybody in this room agrees that there was a global flood, and we can open a.
I think they still lived after the flood.
Well, it did, but pre-flood, you had basically the Earth was a terrarium. You're looking at like 100% oxygenation, megaflora. Things lived a lot longer. Reptiles grow their entire life.
Right.
If an iguana lives 900 years, how big is that iguana going to be in 900 years?
Godzilla.
With super oxygenated.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's going to be huge.
Right.
I mean, it's a proven scientific fact that that's what happens. Look at crocodiles, look at alligators, look at anacondas.
Tortoises.
Yeah, tortoises.
Example.
How about Japan, the guy that did the tomato thing?
What do you do?
That's for another story. It's awesome. It's about super oxygenating stuff.
Yeah, I mean that's a scientifically proven fact. Things like that. So pre-flood, things were going to live longer and they were going to grow bigger.
Right.
So after the flood, when it says, the fountains of the deep broke open, that means there was water coming from underneath and above.
Right.
So that's why we're living on basically like a skeletonized version of what this planet used to look like.
Right.
Because a lot of the stuff that's underwater was not underwater
True.
before that. And so when the waters receded, they didn't completely recede because those fountains had broke open. It wasn't, it could only go back so far.
Right.
So, but you take a super oxygenated area or planet with a whole lot more room than we've got now. Pretty much no natural predators at that time. Things would grow big. They would probably look a lot different than they look now. Anything that's along the same lines.
Right.
But that's back to my whole point of, you're not going to know what these things look like. We're not going to have these descriptions. We're not going to have the... I think a lot of the reason that we can look at a skeleton that they put of a stegosaurus, they look at it and say, okay, this goes together like this, because of stuff like the Inca stones,
Right.
cave drawings, things like that. Because how are you, you can go to school and you can learn how to dig these bones up and learn how bones go together, but you've got to have some kind of idea.
You need to have a layout. Like,
Yeah.
What do they call that? The stone, Rosetta Stone.
Yeah, Rosetta
Yeah.
Stone.
Mm.
So you're not going to convince me that dinosaurs and humans were millions of years apart. That's just there's.
No.
It doesn't
Trust
hold
the
water.
science, Robbie. Trust
Yeah.
the science.
And pardon the pun, it doesn't hold water.
No. That's like, I personally believe, like, where they talk about St. George Dragon Slayer, okay? And the knights slaying dragons. They actually were slaying a giant lizard of some sort.
That was what they called it.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can look it up and see when the word dinosaur was. It was in the 1800s. I don't know the exact year, but it was in the 1800s.
I think they found the first dinosaur's bones was in England, and that's where
Yeah, that's something like that. And
when
that's
they started coining the phrase.
And it was 1841, according to our tech guy Tyler, is when the word dinosaur was started using.
Rapid research source
Yeah.
right there.
But,
He's better than Google.
and I think, even now, we were talking like the last episode about the size of national parks. I mean, who's to say that a Thunderbird type creature to this day still does not live because they've got plenty of room to hide.
Yellowstone. Yellowstone is so immense.
Well, this goes back to what we were talking about a couple episodes ago when we talked about 1 million acres of national forest. But just to get back to this, you're right. Sir Richard Owen came up with the name dinosaur in 1841 to describe the fossils of extinct reptiles. He coined the word by combining the Greek words dinos, which means terrible, and sauros, which means lizard.
Terrible lizard.
So imagine that lizard is in dinosaur actually has lizard in the terminology. So
There's more to that.
yeah,
because-
but we get spoon fed so much stuff nowadays of, oh no, this is how. Go back and look at how the word was
exactly. How the word was created.
I mean, he didn't look at that and say, I think I'm going to create a word that has nothing to do with what they are. I mean, he looked up. These were big bones of big reptiles. He said, ooh, boy, I bet that was a terrible lizard.
He might have he broke the mold a little bit,
Yeah.
I think, in order to tell a story that maybe the church didn't want told at the time.
Maybe so. I mean, but the thing is, I mean, I can almost hear him saying, I bet that was a terrible lizard. Dinosaur, terrible lizard. I mean, that's how stuff happens like that every day.
Definitely.
Somebody, discovers something and comes up with something like that.
He was sipping his tea, eating his scorns, and says, dinosaur, terrible lizard. Perfect.
So, back to our Thunderbird analogy with this. I mean, Johnny brings up a good point of most of the totems that you see looks more like an eagle
Yep.
or, an anaconda or some type of bird of prey. But that's what they were used to seeing.
Right.
So if you're an indigenous person and you're standing down on the ground and you see something huge flapping over top of your head and you look up and you see it, but you don't get the greatest look of it, but you can say maybe see colors or something like that. But you've seen birds.
You can associate it with what you know.
Exactly, just like what's a generalized term.
Right.
So they may have seen a huge dimorphodon fly over and thought, ooh. And that's where because how many eagles or hawks or condors have you seen that are multicolored like most totems are?
I'll be honest, I've seen hawks fly, and they're not multicolored.
No, they're 2-3 colors tops.
Yes.
Have you seen, you're going to love this, up in Kentucky, there's the James Audubon Museum. It's right on the Ohio River, I think. We camped in the campground at this museum, and it's free. They have his big books. His books are about 4 foot tall. 4 foot by 3 foot is how big a page is. And he painted, sketched, and drew everything as he saw it in his travels. There's a big bird that they claim is fictional. This bird had color, and it's way ginormous than an eagle. I mean, it was a big bird. It's the one that wasn't drawn to scale in his book.
Because the book wasn't big enough, apparently.
And the books are freaking huge. I'm telling you, the books are 4
Thunderbird.
foot tall, 3 foot wide. That's one page. When you open it, the books are just...
Why would he draw something that supposedly wasn't real in a book of everything that was real?
And I mean, Audubon, I got an Audubon sketch of an armadillo cause I'm an armadillo collector. But he drew everything he saw. If he saw a javelina pig, he drew the javelina pig. If he saw an armadillo, a squirrel, a chipmunk, he drew every single thing, and he drew them to scale. I don't remember the title of it. Of course, it had a big Latin name with about 400 syllables, but that'd be more your thing. But yeah,
I'm having trouble pronouncing my own name here lately.
but yeah, Audubon supposedly eyewitnessed this thing, and he drew it.
Also, what Quetzalcoatlus?
I want to say he had an American bald eagle as reference, and it was like this,
Dang.
which I'm showing like 2 to 1, 3 to 1.
That's a big difference.
Thunderbird.
And that's not something that you just, because we talked about force perspective before, and I've seen the I think it was Monster Quest that did it, where they took the big kite and put it up in the air, and they said, "Well, how big do you think
They were doing
that is?"
silhouettes.
Yeah, the silhouettes in there, and asking people how big do you think it is. People were usually way off, but it sounds to me like he saw this thing on the ground.
Yeah.
So chances are his perspective was probably not off. I can get it if it's way up in the air. You
Right.
see something 200-300 feet in the air, it's going to look smaller, or it could look, depending on the angles and the angle of the sun. And that's something I know from tracking. You can be looking at a footprint and move 2 inches or even an inch to the right or the left, and depending on where the sun's at, it'll either look deeper or disappear completely. So lighting plays a huge role.
Yeah, we've talked about
Yeah.
that with the Bigfoot sightings because of the different colors you and Johnny were seeing.
So lighting plays a huge role in things like that. I understand that. But
Audubon's name for it was just Big Bird.
Big Bird.
But I'm sure he used the...
Sesame Street.
I was about to say, was he watching Sesame Street, or was it?
And it had brilliant colors.
So it wasn't just yellow.
Roughly 8.5 feet tall.
That is a big bird.
That's
I mean, because, the American bald eagle's a little bit over 2 foot tall.
Yeah.
and they got over a 6-foot wingspan. They're impressive. So this thing's 8.5 foot tall. So we're talking like almost a 20-foot wingspan.
You know, it's strange you mentioned that, because like going back to what I told you about Kecksburg and the incident the gentleman ran into in about the 80s, he said that this bird was, he thought at first it was a very large deer sitting on its haunches. Okay, and he's like, why is the deer sitting on its haunches? But it was like the bird was on the ground, had its wings wrapped around it, and then when it seen it, it unwrapped, stood up, and flew at him. And like I say, it was like 2 to 3 times bigger than him, especially with the wingspan, the claws, and he even had a huge, humongous beak. And just looking at the portrait he drew, you know, it was like looking at a huge hawk.
Well, there actually was a bird called an elephant bird. Y'all can look at that's what it looks like compared to an ostrich. So,
Like a,
that looks like to be about a 7.5, 8 foot bird.
But
Yeah,
that's
but it's not gonna
a
fly.
flightless bird, though.
Right, but what I'm saying is, just because that one was, it could be, like here's, when you look at it, what's the analogy I'm trying to, an African elephant versus an Indian elephant. Both elephants, but
one
each
bigger than the other.
each has different characteristics. Could have a bird like that that's a flightless bird, and it could have a counterpart that, you know, wasn't flightless. That's just, when you start talking about it and the size of it, that's just what made me, what I thought of. Because the size comparison is right. I mean, that's, especially that one right there. That's about an 8 foot
That's
bird.
spooky.
Yeah. I mean, that's a bird that you would not want
No.
to come across when you're walking in the woods. So, wow. Well, we've talked our way through another episode again, guys. That was an interesting one.
Very.
I love Native American
Lore.
folklore and culture.
I'm about to dig into that Thunder Gator thing.
Yeah, the lightning croc, Thunder Gator, and the lightning croc. Get back to us for another show on that one, Johnny. We want to do the whole show on the 2 new cryptids that we just discovered tonight.
Now you have to find
Own
out. You have to find out that the Seminoles also could do weregators.
Why not?
Could be. You never know.
DA might like that.
Would they be weregators or dog gators?
Not
Ooh.
weregators.
Because werewolf is, that's more the mythical thing that really.
Yeah, but think about it. Weregator.
Well, true, but that would mean it would transform from something into something. So,
Transferred from a man into a gator.
well,
A gator-like
guess
form.
you could have a gator man.
And they could be like an amphibian. Then they can do the water and the land.
Norm's thinking up another book or a movie is what he's doing.
Hey, if you read the post, he was thinking about a thing that we talked about, and then he thought he wrote it. And then I'm like, no, you haven't wrote it yet.
He's got too much going on in his head, remember? I don't know how he does it. We talked about that the other night. We're talking about DA, folks. He's got too many stories running around in his head.
If you've seen the folder that he and I share, there's about 6 to 8 potential projects in there.
Oh, I've seen the list of potential books.
No, this is stuff that's not even listed there yet.
No,
with the exception of
he's got 30 plus more books that, from what he's got right now, there's at least that many plus a few more that's on. I know what you're talking about. You're talking about ideas for some of those books. I'm talking about these are some of the continuations of the stuff that's already out there.
Do you know what I just did to him the other week? Cryptid sheriff.
He's never going to have any time off if you don't shut up, Norm.
Well, he likes the idea of keeping working because we know he's making money.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. All right, Norm, how can these people get in touch with us?
Well, you can find us on Facebook, folks. You can find us on What's Really Out There. I monitor the site most of the time. So if you have a story, pictures, or you need to reach out to someone because you need some help, or you need someone to listen, or you need somebody to come out and investigate, we are here for you. Johnny, I, and Robbie, We'd be more than glad to, if you're in the upstate area, we'll be more than glad to come out, meet you, listen to you. If you're out of the upstate area, might make a road trip even. We are here to help you. We are here to listen to your story. We are here because if nobody else is there for you, we're your cryptid busters. Since Ghostbusters is not out there, we're
I can't believe he went there, actually. He's talked about that so many times, he actually went there with it. He was just waiting for the right time, wasn't he, Johnny?
We're the people that you can turn to when things go bump in the night, I guess you could say.
Don't say it.
Say what?
Don't say we bump back against the things that bump in the night.
I would never say that we'll bump back against the things that bump in the night. Never do that. But
Isn't that a line from Hellboy?
yes,
Something
it
like
is.
that. Something
I'm going to
like
let Robbie tell you where you can reach the rest of us, but like I say, you need help, we're here for you.
All right. You can find the podcast on Spreaker. Also, iHeartRadio. We're not
YouTube.
quite on Amazon yet, but we are on YouTube. We've got a YouTube channel. What's Really Out There. Most all of our episodes are on there. I think the first 3 or 4 didn't transfer over for whatever reasons. We're working on that. We'll see if we can get those put on there at some point. But you can find us on YouTube, Spreaker, iHeartRadio. What's the other ones that there's a bunch of the smaller channels that we're on, but if you just look it up on Spreaker, it'll tell you which ones that we're listed to, but you can always just listen to it straight through Spreaker. Johnny, you remember that email address that they can get to?
No.
I'm trying to get him involved in the conversation.
I'm not the tech guy.
You got to remember, Johnny stays low key.
That's right. Johnny does the smoke signals. That's what we determined.
Right.
So Johnny, what smoke signal can they send to the horizon?
He does our
Puff,
field
puff,
work.
pass.
He does our field work and communicates that way.
All joking aside, folks, if you want to send us an email, it's what'sreallyoutthere2022@gmail.com. All one word, all together, no spaces or any kind of special characters. Send us an email. Get in touch with us on the Facebook. You can leave comments on the YouTube if you're watching the video. I get those directly. I think Tyler, our tech, I think he gets those too. So if you just leave a comment on that, we'll see it, or one of the other ways that we've told you, and get in touch with us that way. Other than that, Norm, we got a topic for next time, or is that a surprise?
Topic for next time. Maybe we'll talk about variants of Bigfoot, maybe.
Yeah, we can go back to Bigfoot.
I think it's time
We
we
ain't
go back to Bigfoot.
We ain't had a
Circle
good
back.
Bigfoot conversation in a while. We can
You
go
know,
back.
because until I met DA, I always thought there was Bigfoot. And then I was introduced to Gugway, Dogman, Lizard Man, other variants. But I think we'll talk about the Bigfoot and the variants of Bigfoot.
Yeah, that'd be good. We
I
can
think
do
that would be a good subject to talk about.
And while we're talking about that, if you've got one of these encounters, or if you've got something going on, and we're not ones that are going to laugh at you. We're the ones that you can, like Norman said, you can let us know, and we can help you as much as we can. If we can't help you if you're out of state, chances are we probably know somebody close that can help you. So get in touch with us. Let us know what you got going on. We'll do everything we can to help you, because we pretty much got the entire Southeast and Midwest wired. Actually, we probably got all the way out to California if you count Shane from West Coast Dog Man, because
We got connections with some other organizations.
So we got connections all across the United States. So
Some way, shape, or form, we'll get you the help you need.
yeah. So all right, folks. Well, that's all from the cabin this time. We'll see you next time.
Y'all be safe.
Have a good one.